In this video, we will be installing Archlinux on bare metal on a laptop that remotely, on a laptop that's other than the laptop I'm recording this on. So we're going to be remotely installing, but it will be installed on bare metal, not in a virtual machine. Okay, so let's take a look what it will look like. And this is it. This is Plasma 6, and it's running on a Chromebook with a 2955U. This is from like 2013 or 2014. Its native resolution is not 1920 by 1080. It's actually 768 by 1366, but I am running this remotely using Xrdp and XFreeRDP to display it here. So the actual system that I'm running on looks something like this. So I'm recording this from a Ryzen 5700U. And this is the guest system. So the host system is going to be where we're installing to is going to be this old Chromebook. Okay, so we can kind of see what it looks like here. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down now so we can get started. It should disappear, it might not. That's fine. We'll just leave that as it is. So I did record this earlier, but the problem was I actually showed installing the image, the ISO image, the Archlinux install image onto a USB. And the problem is my sound, my PreSonus sound audio interface is also using USB, and it just messed it up completely. So I'm not going to actually show installing it on the USB. It's already there, but I'm going to show you how you would find it. So if we want to find what the block device is that we're going to install, we would do ls-blk. And right now you can see I have ZRAM, which is my ZRAM swap device. And then I have the NVMe, which is what my actual system is running on. And then I would plug in the USB. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess up my sound, but I would plug in the USB and then I would run this command again. And for my specific USB, it shows up as SDA. And there'll be two partitions. There'll be an SDA1 and an SDA2, but the actual device would be SDA. Now, pay attention to this / here. This is your root. And this is home and boot. You do not want to be writing anything to your existing operating system. You'll destroy it. And if you have any other storage devices, you'll probably want to remove those just so you don't accidentally overwrite something. But what I would do is look at it and then plug in the USB and then look at it again and find the new device there and make sure the size matches up. Okay, so I did skip over you can use this installation guide for Archlinux, and that is right here. And you can go to the downloads, and then you would find the closest mirror to where you live. I'm in the UK, so I would go down to the United Kingdom mirror. I'm going to open this. And there, the image up top here is the ISO image with the year, the month, and the day. And then there's the exact same file, but without the year, month, and day, more generic name. This is the image that I've downloaded. So it's currently in my downloads folder. I'm not going to have you watching me download that again. That's where you'd find the download image. So to find the device, you would use the ls-blk. And like I said, for mine, it's SDA. So it's going to be dev SDA. And then, now I'm not going to actually do it, but I'm just going to show the steps here. Since mine is in the downloads folder, I'm just going to cd to downloads and I'll show it to you. So this is the actual file that I've downloaded, the ISO. And then the command that I would run would be this next command. It's a dd command. And this installs that file to, it just writes it directly to the device. And you can actually use cat and you could use graphical programs, but this is very straightforward, easy thing to use, and it looks nice. I'm going to not actually run this command, but I'm just going to show what it looks like. So right here where the output file, the device, for me, this would be SDA. That's what you would find out when you use ls-blk to find out what your device is. For me, the device would be SDA, sorry. And the input file, since I'm actually in the downloads folder with this command, is just going to be Archlinux. It's the exact name of this right here. This is relative path, but you could actually put the full path to it if you didn't want to run it from the directory. And this will give you an output that shows the percentage of you as you're writing it. So it looks nice. It's got a nice looking output. Now I'm not going to run it because I did that earlier and I messed up my video. So I'm just going to, it's already been done. I'm going to skip that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this USB device. We already have the Chromebook running, but it was running with the system already on it. So I'm going to stick in the USB device, and for me it's escape. I'm going to press escape when I reboot it so I can boot off of the actual USB. So I'm going to do that. I can't show that on camera, but that's what I'm doing. So it's running. I'm actually just telling it to boot to shut off real quick, and then I'm going to boot it back up, and then just press escape to get into the boot option for it, so I can tell it to boot off the USB. And I picked the very top option, which is the default. It's going to boot into the install. We're going to see this in a minute here. We have to set up a couple steps. So while that's booting up, let me just walk you through what I'm going to do on the device. If you need to list kind of the available key maps for the terminal, because it defaults to US and you might be in another country. For me, I'm in the UK. I'll show you what that looks like just on my device here. If I do what's local CTL, so I just want key maps. Okay. Oh, the S is missing. So these are all the available, and I can just keep pressing enter and go down. I already know I'm looking for something Great Britain, UK, something like that. So I already know for me it's UK, which is right here. And I can press Q to quit out of this. And then to actually set it, I can use load keys, and then UK, because I've chosen UK. Now, that's what I'm going to be doing on this Chromebook. It's just booting, finishing booting right now into because the live image takes a little bit to boot off of. Okay. And then what it's going to do is it's going to actually be using the root. It doesn't have a user account. It just has a root account, and it actually has SSH running by default. But it doesn't have a password on root account. So for me to log in with SSH, I'm going to give the root account password. So I'm going to use passwd and just give it a password. I'm going to call it secret. So I'm just going to do that right now, and then we can log in and see this on camera now. And one more thing I forgot about, I need to get this device online to be able to, I'm not connected via a Cat5 cable or anything like that. So I'm going to use Wi-Fi. And these are the commands that I'm going to use. I'm going to use iwctl device list, and this is going to tell me the name of my actual Wi-Fi adapter in this. And for my device, it's going to be WLAN 0. So I'm going to run that command. And if I didn't know what the name of the router was off the top of my head, I actually do know the name of it, but if I didn't know the name of it, I could use iwctl station, and then whatever my device name is. For me, it's WLAN 0. And then, up here, and scan. I'm going to run this command, and it's going to look like it does nothing. But then if I run this command down here, again, replacing device with WLAN 0, and get networks, it's going to list out all available wireless networks to me. Just in case you don't know the exact spelling or the name of the network you're using. Now that you have that name of the network you want, you're going to use iwctl station, again with the name of the device, for me WLAN 0, connect, and now you're going to put that network name, the SSID that you just found up here, you're going to put it right here, and it will be in double quotations. So whatever that name is, you're going to put it in double quotations. Okay? And that should hopefully get you online. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm actually only doing the last step to connect. I'm not doing the stuff to scan and everything else. I already know the name of all my stuff. Okay, and the very last thing, when you've got yourself online, to find out what your IP address, you can just use IPA. It's not -A, it's just A. And you're going to be looking for something along the lines of 192.168.0. Or it could be like .1. One of those things. As long as it begins with 192.168, it's probably your IP address that you're connecting to your local area network with. And so mine right now is 0.66. So So with that information and knowing that it's online, we can actually log in now. So I'm going to do that so we can kind of look at the things that I was doing. So I'm going to use SSH. Like I said, SSH is already running on the installation media by default, but I did need to give the root account a password. So I'm going to say root, and I'm going to say 192.168.0.66 is my address. Okay, so this happens a lot because since I've done this so many times, I've done this on an install system with the same one. So it's saying, hey, something's not matching up here. So we actually need to forget the fingerprint or the whatever it calls it. I forget the name of it. We need to forget what we've already saved for a device before that, because this is a slightly different one. The fingerprint, whatever. So I'm going to use SSH keygen, and I'm going to use -R, and I'm going to use that IP address that I want to use right now. So it's going to forget the old version, and now I can just connect to it now. And this time it's going to ask me, do you want to fingerprint this? And I'm going to say yes. And now I need to put in that password that I set as the root user, which was secret. Okay, so now we are actually logged in to my Chromebook. And I will show you the commands that I gave, the actual commands that I had to give on my Chromebook to get it online. I'll just show the history real quick. Okay, so I set the password. I looked at my IP address and realized I wasn't online. So I put in the command for my wireless, and then I had to give it my wireless password, and then I made sure I was online. And then after that, I checked to see my IP address. So so I got the IP address again with IPA, and we can do that real quick. I can show you IPA, and it's going to look like this. And down here at WLAN 0, this is the IP address. This is my local area network IP address. So that's what you're going to want to look for when you're doing this. Now that we are logged in, we can set up a couple things. So one of the things I want to set up is I want to make sure we're using the best mirror that we can use. So I'm going to run reflector. Okay. And that's done that. Let me just make sure I haven't missed any steps. So this is talking all about connecting to a wireless network. If you're using a wired network, you don't have to worry about any of this. This is how you SSH in. This is what you do if you need to forget an SSH fingerprint that's already set up. Now we're running reflector. Now before I actually run the archinstall script, I'm going to turn on parallel downloads. And this is going to make the install faster. I'm just going to use the sed command, and I have sudo here. That's not right. It's not sudo because we're logged in as root. So anyway, I'll show you what I'm trying to change here. I just use sed because it's faster, but I'm going to cat the etc pacman.conf, and where is it? Parallel. Right here, parallel downloads is commented out. I just want to uncomment that. You could do it a number of ways. You could use nano, you could use vi, vim, neovim. We're just going to use the sed. So, and I'm already root, so I don't need to sudo anything. Sed -I is for inline. That means change the thing that I'm doing. And I'm going to use a single quotation. This is going to be S, and my delimiter, I'd use a /. You can use other delimiters if there's a / in your string. And now I'm going to use a caret, and the caret's going to say, hey, search for the thing I want. It must start at the beginning of the line. So the caret is saying this pound symbol in this string that I'm looking for has to be at the beginning of the line. So I'm looking for a pound parallel, yeah, and I'm going to replace it with parallel, and that should be good. And the file is pacman.conf. Now if we look at it again, we could just grep it. Sorry, I'm going to grep it, so I'm just going to grep the parallel part. See, it's uncommented now, so we're good to go. So now we can download it. And the last thing I want to do is make sure that the local list of what it thinks is on the server is actually what's on the server. So I'm going to update that with sudo. It's not sudo. Sorry, we're already root. Pacman -S YY, not YYU. I'm not updating packages. I'm just updating the package list. So it doesn't try to pull a package that no longer exists on the server. Since we're done with that, let's start the archinstall. Okay, I apologize for my coloring. Since it's using this light blue coloring on the theme I'm using, it's a little bit hard to read. So you'll see me flicking up and down a couple times. Part of that's for me and part of that's for you to see. So let's set the mirror. And I'm going to use the UK mirror. And these are the locals, the keyboard local, and this will set the keyboard and the X keyboard. So it's going to be UK for me, and it's going to be ENGB. That's good. So now we have the disk configuration. Now, since I have nothing else installed on this, I'm going to take the defaults, okay? If you are installing this beside another operating system, Linux or Windows, you're going to want to be very careful. You're not going to want to do anything that deletes your boot partition or anything like that. But since I have absolutely nothing else on this Chromebook, it's going to be just Linux because it is so small. It's only got 14 gigs usable of space with 4 gigs of RAM. There's nothing else on there. So I'm just going to take the default. So use best effort. And this is my USB drive at the very bottom, the 7.7 gig one. And the actual internal storage is the 16 gig one on top. So I'm going to use that 16 gig. And I want to use Btrfs because I need the compression on this system. But I use Btrfs on all my systems. The ext4 is a very old, outdated kind of system. Btrfs is much better. And you get about a 2 times compression on it. So my operating system takes up half the space, which means I can actually run update on the Chromebook when it becomes out of date. Before, I would actually not have enough space to do that. And do I want the subvolumes? This is talking about the at for the root, the at home for the home, the at package for the cached Pacman packages, the at log for the logs, and the at dot snapshots. I'm going to say yes on that and let it create all that. And now this one is talking about use compression or disable copy on write, cow. I want to use compression, and it's going to use the STD compression level 3, which it's supposed to be a 4 times compression, but in reality, it depends on the file sizes and how many and what, if you have larger files, they're not going to compress as much. In reality, it ends up being about half the size if I was using, say, ext4, so it's nice. Okay, so disk encryption, I'm not going to do that. The bootloader, I'm using the systemd boot. I'm not messing around with the kernel image. The swap, this is true. This is going to be using ZRAM, and we're going to set this up differently later. So it's using ZRAM. That's good. And my local host is just going to be Archlinux. No problem. The root, I'm going to set a root for secret. You might want to make yours like super secret, double secret or something. I'm just going to use secret. Okay, and I'm going to make a user account. And we will be editing some of these things later. I'm going to use PR for Programming Rainbow and also make it secret. Okay, and it's going to ask me, should it kind of have access to sudo? It kind of does it in a weird way, and we're going to change this later. But yes, I do want access to sudo for my user. And that's a confirm and exit. So what do we have left? Profile, this is talking about what kind of system we want. We want a desktop system with KDE Plasma. So I'm going to do the desktop, and then I'm going to go down to KDE. Right there, check that. And I always choose all open source just because there's no reason to not have them there. And KDE uses SDDM, so that's fine. For the audio, we're going to be using Pipewire. Now, the Linux, I'm just going to use the stock kernel. For additional packages, this is where I would add things like Firefox and things like that, but I'm going to do that later. Okay, and I'm just going to skip this step right here about the networking for a second because we have to talk about it, but I'm going to set my time zone to, was it EU? There we go. And the automatic time sync is on. That's good. Okay, so let's talk about the networking. So normally you would, if in any normal installation that is not this remote thing that we're doing right here, this needs to be network manager. However, since this is like, since I'm installing this remotely, this becomes a problem because when I reboot the system, I'm not going to be connected to it anymore. It's not going to be online. It's not going to have an IP address. I won't be able to reconnect. So there's kind of 2 or 3 things I can do here. One thing I can do is I can go ahead and put it on Network Manager. But what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go physically to the Chromebook and the Network Manager, even if I log in to the desktop and then connect with Network Manager, it's only ever going to reconnect when I'm actually logged in graphically. And when I just boot up the system, it's not going to be connected. This is for Wi-Fi. If I'm wired, it's already going to be connected. But the Wi-Fi, it only connects when I'm already logged in graphically. This is fine in a normal system, but not for this remote thing. So a workaround is I could actually use Network Manager CLI, and I could tell that to connect, telling it to forget the old one, and have it do that. So even when it boots up before anybody ever logs in, it will automatically connect. So I can do that, but I need to physically do that on the Chromebook. But another thing I can do remotely is I could just tell it to copy over the install media's login things. So this install media that I'm using right now, I wish I could show it to you. I'll show it to you after we get off the screen, but it's using systemd network D, systemd resolved, and IWD. And it's using that to get on the wireless network. And the other 2 are also used for other things. If I do this with the IWD and this will get me online perfectly, but when I'm in graphically in KDE, I will not have the network manager. It will not be managed by KDE at that point. But since for this setup, I'm going to do it this way, it's easier. And I actually put all the information how to manually do this. Like if you chose network manager and then undid it, I put this whole option here to disable network manager, to enable, and you can do all this remotely, to enable IWD, to enable systemd network D, to enable systemd resolved. And then to use those, you need to actually copy over the network stuff. You need to make the symlink with resolved, and you need to copy over your login credentials. However, if we just choose the copy over option from the installer, it does all these steps for us. But if you ever want to switch back, you basically just need to undo a couple of the steps. You need to disable IWD. You need to disable network D if you want, disable resolve D. But when you disable resolved, you do need to delete this file right here. If this file exists, network D will not try to resolve anything, and if systemd resolved is not running, then you won't get any naming resolution happening at all. So it is kind of weird. So you do have to undo a couple steps, but for this installation, for a normal installation, just choose Network Manager, you're good to go. For this, since I'm doing it a bit funny, I am going to do the one that does all this, which is just choose the copy over one. Right here, it says copy ISO network configuration. That's basically what I've already set up on and I'm going to do that. But normally you would do the second one here. Okay, so I'm sorry, that was very long-winded, but so that should be it. Now we should be installing, I'm going to hit install here, and we should get parallel installing 5 at a time. See if it works out okay. There we go. It looks like we got 5 running at a time. Okay, so let me just walk through a couple of those things. So if you were to do this, like I said, you wanted to back it out, you can actually, let's see, if you have your connection set up with IWD and then you enable network D, they will fight with each other. IWD will connect, and it'll give you an IP address. Then when you log into your user, Network Manager will then connect and give you a different IP address. And it's very much a headache. So what you want to do is you want to disable this. You want to use sudo systemctl disable IWD. These other two are optional. This one here works if you have these things copied over. There's some configuration files in etc systemd network, and they're fine if they're there. They won't hurt anything if they're there, and they're already being copied over since we chose the first option. But if you on your own wanted to copy them over, you could here. There's no problem with that. All you can do is just disable this. So just sudo systemctl disable systemd network D, and you're good to go. That's turned off now. IWD is turned off. You don't have to delete anything. You just turn those two off. This second one here needs this symlink. This symlink right here, it's already being created for us in the option that I chose. But if you want to turn off this resolver, this systemd resolved, and use the built-in network manager one, then you will need to not only disable this, but you'll need to delete this file right here. Just do a sudo rm on this file, and it won't be containing the mount. It'll just be the etc when you're inside the system. And you're just going to delete that file right there. It doesn't need to exist. When Network Manager sees that that file doesn't exist, it will do its own thing. It will resolve on its own. So basically, you need to turn those three things off, and you need to delete this one symlink right here. And when that happens, Network Manager will have total control. And if you want to just use Network Manager straight up, but you also want to do what I'm doing, you could either at the command line or at the or in your graphical system, you could run this Network Manager CLI. And this device, Wi-Fi, all of this just as it is. You don't replace anything. But you do need your SSID. That will be the same SSID you used before. And you need ask. You can type password and your password, but that's dangerous. You shouldn't do that at the command line. So instead, --ask, and it'll ask you for your SSID password. And now it will, Network Manager will actually get you online before you even log in. But you still will have Network Manager running in KDE, which is fine. And if you already had one working in KDE, it might clash. And if you do get that clash, run this command down here, which is that's connect and that's delete. So con del and the SSID, that will just tell it to forget what it already had, and then you can use this command again to connect it. And to get your IP address, just that one. Okay, let's see where we're at with the install. Okay, it's still going. Looks like it's actually downloaded everything and now it's installing, so that's nice. Okay, so we're going to do some stuff before we even have it reboot. Let's see here, starting. Where was I at? Okay, yeah, I'm going to do a couple things in here. So the first thing I want to do is the user that it creates for us, it puts us in a group called the wheel group. And usually you enable sudo privilege to people who are in wheel group. But it doesn't do that. It puts us in the wheel group, but then doesn't use the wheel group at all. Instead, it makes a specific file for our user, and it puts it into etc sudoers.d, and it gives it 000 underscore in the name of our, and it gives us our sudo privilege there. So since we're already in the wheel group, which is the group I want to be in, I'm just going to uncomment the wheel group access to give people who are in the wheel group access to sudo. And I'm going to give them access to not have to use their password. There's two options. I'm going to use the not have to use password option. So it's just a sed command to uncomment, just to remove basically this. And then I'm going to delete that straight up. And so then I'm just going to have proper sudo privilege. Let me just check this. Okay, it's not done yet. And that will fix kind of sudo for me. I find it annoying the way that they set it up. The other thing they did is they set up ZRAM, which is a really cool technology. It's too long and complicated to talk about now, but it creates a compressed swap where it uses part of your physical memory to compress stuff that's in memory and put it back, like compress it up and put it into another spot of that physical memory that is used for swap. So it allows for very fast swap. And what they do is they use, I think LZ4 or something like that compression, which is pretty fast. And then they used half physical RAM. Now, there's no reason to do that. If you need to use this ZRAM swap, you really need RAM. Like this Chromebook that's only got 4 gigs, I need RAM. So if I can actually have this ZSTD actually compresses 4 times. So if I use half of my physical RAM, I can compress 4 times as much. I can actually say I want my swap size to be double the RAM size, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it from half RAM size to double RAM size, and that's going to give me physical RAM of like 380 megabyte or 3.8 gigs to a swap size of like 7.6 gigs. And that makes a big difference on my machine. That means I can actually get maybe upwards of 10 or 12, probably closer to 10 gigabytes of usable RAM space in a machine that only has 4 gigabytes. And it really does work, and it's really nice, especially on a machine that doesn't have very good specifications or specs. Okay, almost done here. So we're going to be changing that. We are also going to be setting the parallels for the local install like we did. I'm going to disable SDDM because we are doing this remotely. So this again is just for my purposes, but I want to use Xrdp to show it. I'm going to log into it remotely with Xrdp. And so Xrdp actually needs to run kind of like StartX runs. So it doesn't run from a graphical session manager. So I'm going to be disabling that. I'm going to be enabling, we don't really need SSHD. We could enable it or disable that. Okay. Okay. Looking through other stuff too. That's just the wireless setups. So this XRDP stuff, on the guest system, we're going to use free RDP, which is actually already packaged by Archlinux, and that is not here. Free RDP, it's already a package that exists. But on the host system, I need to build 3 packages that are part of the ARU. And it's XRDP, and it actually needs 3 packages. They're all in the ARU, and we're not going to be using the Git versions because they're broken, but it'll be XRDP, Xorg XRDP, and the final one will be for Pipewire. It'll be Pipewire module XRDP, but not the Git version again, because if you use the Git, you have to use all the Git versions, and they're broken. So we'll be doing that to connect to it. Okay, so it's telling, it's asking me, do I want to chroot into it? I believe you always need to say a yes on this, but I'm going to do something in there anyway. Okay, so now we are in the system. Let's look at the things that we were going to fix. Connecting to the host system. Installed. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is fix the sed thing that I was telling you about, because right now, if I use any sed command, it's going to ask me for the password every single time. And I can show you what groups I'm in. Or I can't actually because I'm a root user. But if I was the normal user, I'm already part of the wheel group. So I'm going to use this command to uncomment that. And then we're going to do let's see it. It should be 00_PR because my user that I created is PR. There it is. So I'm going to remove this file now because we will be getting our sudo privilege access through the wheel group instead. So I don't need this file to exist anymore. And any new users that I create, as long as I put them in the wheel group, they're going to have sudo privilege. If I don't, then they don't have it. Let's see. I'm just going to do that. Okay, so that's gone. Let's see what else we can do here. So I'm going to change the, like I said, the compression is set up at half RAM size. So you'll get a swap file that for my device will be like 1.7 gigs of swap and 3.8 gigs, something like that, of actual physical. And I'm going to change that to where it's actually running up at like 7.6 gigs. So I'm going to use these two commands right here. They're just echoing into this file that already exists. I can just show you this file. And right now it's just that's in there. That needs to stay in there. That's like the ZRAM device. These are going to append to that file. They're not going to overwrite it. They're going to append to it. So now if we print it out again, so now we have the same like we had before, but we have our compression algorithm set to ZSTD, and we have our RAM size. This is going to be our swap size to RAM times 2. Whatever our RAM, physical RAM is times 2 is going to be the size of our swap. And I tested this trying to run my little Chromebook out of RAM, and I couldn't actually get it to run out of RAM. I opened like 30 different websites, loaded up multiple videos and websites that had images and just everything I could think of. And I opened up about 30 programs, and my poor Chromebook doesn't have enough CPU to actually do any active things at once. And I just could not get the thing to run out of RAM. So it bogs down to such a slow state because of the CPU, not because of the RAM, just because it's a dual core, very slow CPU, about a Raspberry 3 kind of speed, I think, or Raspberry 4 maybe. It's very slow. So, but it never does the RAM lock up or RAM slow down because of RAM. So that's fine. I'm going to do this right here now. This is for the parallel downloads that we did before. Now, again, if I were to reboot the system right now, it would come up online with SDDM login, and I don't want that to happen because I actually don't want it to go graphical. I want to use Xrdp instead. So I need to disable SDDM. But if you're using it on your local system, you're gonna want not to do this. You're gonna want SDDM to be there. That's your login manager. Okay. And you can just enable it later on if you want. And yeah, we can enable by default. SSHD is not enabled on your installed system. You don't want it enabled if you're not using it, but since we might be needing to remotely log in this way again, I'm gonna let that be enabled for this. But if you don't have a reason to use it, you shouldn't have it turned on. Looks like I spelled this wrong, so I have to fix that. Okay, so I believe we can keep going a little bit. Let me just double check. We've done a couple things there. We don't need to worry about any of this because this whole thing is taken care of with that one option I chose to copy over. So that's all fixed. And yeah, these are here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the command here. I'm going to exit out of the chroot environment, and I'm going to tell the system to reboot itself. And then I should still be able to log right back into it again when it reboots without touching the actual device. So I'm going to try that right now. So first I'm going to do is exit, and then I'm going to tell it to reboot. And it's not going to reboot my device. It's going to reboot the Chromebook. Okay, there goes my Chromebook rebooting. And I'm not touching it again. I only did it the very first time just to get it online. Okay, so it's just rebooted since SDDM is turned off. It is now sitting at the login, but I'm not going to log in. I'm not going to touch that machine. I'm going to try to log in with SSH the exact same way we did before. Hopefully we have the exact same IP address because everything was just copied over. And now we are getting this because the reason why is last time we were using this exact same IP address, it was booting into the it was trying to log into the install media, where this time it's logging into a different operating system. It's logging into the installed operating system. And I also made another mistake too. I put root here, and it should not be root. It should be the user. It should be PR, but it still won't work because we need to tell it to forget. So we need to run that command SSH keygen minus $R. Okay, now, and again, make sure root's not there this time because we are actually SSHing into the installed system. So fingerprint, yes. And it's going to ask the password, which is a secret. Okay, so now we are in the actual system. If I try to do like a neofetch now, it's not installed. Yeah, see, there's no. So what we can do is we can see if sudo works right now. So we can do sudo pacman. So we can install that neofetch just to see if it works. Okay. And there we go. And we are still Falcon, which is the 2013, 2014 Chromebook. There's its native resolution popping up right there. It's a Celeron. Okay. So now the issue we need is we want to see something graphical. So we need Xrdp. So what we're gonna do is first thing first, we need Git installed. And then I can tell you when we try to build these packages, they're going to complain about missing dependencies. And these are the dependencies that it needs. The first package needs all these, and the second package needs this one. So I'm just going to install these right now. And there's our 5. It's trying to do 5 downloads, but it was too quick. So we've got parallel downloads working. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm just going to do it in one shot. I'm going to clone these. And the first one is called, it's at https://aur.archlinux.org/, and the first one is xrdp.git, and the next one is xorg xrdp, and the final one is pipewire module xrdp. So I'm just going to clone all those all at once, or at the same time. So git clone. I'm going to make sure I'm in my home folder. https://aur archlinux.org. So we're actually compiling these. These are not packaged up. They're a bit. They're not popular enough packages. And this one's going to be xrdp.git. Okay. So the next one is almost the exact same. Just we'll put xorg here. And the final one is the pipewire module. Okay. So we'll cd into the first one. And we are going to make this package and tell it to install with make pkg -i. And we're not using sudo for this. It needs to be built as the normal user, but then it will ask you for a password if you need one, or if you have sudo privilege like I have now, it won't bother to ask me. It'll just ask me if I wanted to install it. Okay. So this is going to hopefully start going. Yeah, there it goes. This is going to build for a second. So let's look at some stuff. So this is Xrdp, is a remote desktop protocol. I believe this is made by Microsoft. I'm not sure when, but it's been around for a while. You can use this in other things like FreeBSD, things like that. Works good. I don't know if it works in Windows. Not the X version, at least. The RDP protocol does. And I've used it to connect from a Mac system into this system before, so it kind of works all the way around. It's not nearly as fast as Virt Manager's Virt viewer. So you're not going to have super awesome, amazing speed. This is just for the showing off how to install the system and how to use some of this remote stuff, but you're not going to get amazing speed out of it. If you want to use virgl instead of LLVM pipe as the renderer, I'm not sure what it's called. There are other packages for Vulkan. And Vulkan. There's one for Xrdp Glamour. This would replace the Xorg Xrdp package. We would use this Glamour one instead. However, when I use the Glamour one, it's much slower on my system. There is one specifically for an NVIDIA too. So these would replace the standard Xorg Xrdp package. Let's show that. So right here, if I just type in Xrdp, you need this package right here. That's going to have our server. This Xorg Xrdp, you need this one or one of these other two. So this one will be LLVM pipe, and this one will give you virgl, and for AMD CPUs or AMD GPUs, and this one will do it for NVIDIA. But again, for my AMD system, it's actually much slower, so I can't recommend you do it. But you'll need one of these three installed, not both of them. They cannot be installed side by side. You have to remove one before installing the other. And then the final one down here is the Pipewire. They also have a Pulse Audio, but I'm using Pipewire. Okay, let's see what we're at. Almost there. And so I have all these things here going on. It's for each one of these. We will have a little hiccup here in the next one where we have to skip the PGP check because there's a mistake in the ARU package for it. And that one. And what we're going to do, since we're not using SDDM to log into KDE anymore, we need to set up the xinit RC file. So we're just going to put it to export the symbol desktop session as Plasma. And then we're going to tell it to execute start Plasma, the X11 version. And when we create this file, we'll be able to use startx. So if we've just logged in locally on the machine, we can use startx to start up KDE, but also Xrdp will be able to log into it and start up a session as well. So this will allow us to get into KDE Plasma without using SDDM. Okay, so it's asking us, do we want to install the package? And it's installing two packages, this one and the debug. I'm going to say yes on that. And then I'm going to cd out and go into the other one, the Xorg Xrdp. And I'm going to do the make pkg -i, and we're going to see that it's going to complain. And there's the complaint. And the workaround is to just not check the PGP for this. I'm not sure what's going on. The certificate is not added in it, or it's not correct or something, but this is noted on the package. So we'll put skip PGP check. Okay, we don't have to watch that compile. Yeah, so we'll be setting that up. So that'll give us access to startx and for Xrdp to start up a session. You can also at any time just re-enable SSDM or SDDM and use the graphical. That's no problem here. And we will also be enabling, since SDDM is disabled, we will enable, this is kind of like SSH, but for the graphical side, we'll enable the Xrdp service. And this will allow us to use FreeRDP on a guest system to log into that host system. So this needs to be done on the host system, or the guest system. So right now I have this going on here. Oh, let's install that. Okay, so outside of that, let's go over here and I'll just open up another terminal. On this system, I need to do this, and it's already been installed for me. So it's going to say, but that's on the system that you want to use to log into the other system, you need free RDP, and it's an existing package. We don't need to compile it or anything like that. Okay, sorry about that. So we are going to make this file right here. I'm just going to copy these 2 lines. So I'm just going to get into the normal, because sometimes I forget and I run a command and I'm inside of a folder, so I'm just going into my home folder. So I'm just going to show you that this file does not exist. So we'll do an ls, and it's in the tilde / just means my home directory, and it's a hidden file, so it's a .x init rc, and it doesn't exist right now, so it should say, yeah, it doesn't exist. So we're going to make it exist, and now if we cat that, we could use nano or vim or whatever, but it's just easy for me to copy that. Okay, so those 2 things are in here. So now, right now, if I were to go over here to the Chromebook and I were to actually log in, it's not logged in right now, but if I were to log in and type start X, it would start up the X session in the user that I'm logged into. But it's actually not logged into anything right now. And I don't want to start that because it's going to interfere with Xrdp. So the next thing we need to do is enable the Xrdp session. So it's sudo systemctl enable, and it's Xrdp. Now we don't want to just enable it, we want to start it. So that service is started now. So I need to put start. I need to fix that too. I think I had a spelling error somewhere up there as well in one of the system CTLs. So, okay, so now we're all set up. Now we want to actually remotely log in. When we use Xrdp3 to log in on our guest system, it's going to automatically use the American keyboard. So if you don't want to use the American keyboard, you can list the available keyboards. So I'm not going to use this one here because this is logged in right here. So what I'm going to do is come over here to a different terminal. And this is, again, on the guest system. So if I want a list of available, I'm going to do this. And so this whole list here, let's say you lived in France. So you want the French keyboard, and what you would need is this right here. This guy right here would be what you're looking for. This is a hexadecimal code for the French keyboard. Or Greek keyboard, there's different options here. It would be these. So this is this number over here. For me, it's the United Kingdom. So if I grep United, it's going to be this one right here. So that's going to give me the keyboard that I want. So I'm just going to copy that. Well, I can paste it here. It doesn't really matter. So let's go back to... So we have the keyboard that we want. If not, you can just leave this off if you just want to use the American keyboard. Now I have this very long command here. I'm going to grab it. And where do we want to start this? I'm going to put it in here. Okay, so this has a couple different things in here. The very last thing here, the keyboard layout, is going to be that number that I copied over here. I'm just going to copy it again. Copy that. So it's going to say /KBD : layout : and then that hex code that you want. And you can leave this entire thing off. You can just delete this all the way up to the slash, just get rid of the whole thing, and you'll just be using the American keyboard by default. This is a bit rate, 32 bits, dynamic resolution. Some of these, I even forgot what some of these mean. GFX. I was trying to get the best quality out of this thing. There's sound, video. Right here, this is the IP address that we need to use. So this was 192.168.0.66, I believe, is what we're using. And this can be logged in beside SSH. It will not work if you are graphically logged in. If you have a graphic session working, it will not work. It'll fail. But if you have SSH logged in, it's not going to affect this. Now, in a window manager, this is how big the window you want to open it up, and then you can make it full screen. But that for a floating window manager. But since I'm using this strange tiling window manager, I'm going to change this resolution here because it's going to become annoying to me. But this would be how big the window that's going to open on your screen is, and then you can, like I said, full screen it. So I'm going to just put this to 1080. It is dynamic and it's resizable and all that, but again, I'm not using a floating window manager, so it works differently on my system. Here's where you can put the password. Realistically, you would not. You would just leave this off and it'll ask you for the password. I'm going to put it because I don't think you're going to tell anybody my secret. But this is not safe to put passwords in at a command line like this. So realistically, you would delete this entire thing up to the P, and it would just ask you for the password. You do need the user name that you want to log into, which is PR for us. Okay, so that's everything that we need. So hopefully if I run this right now, it should open up another window. It's going to do the tiling thing, so it's going to look funny to you, but in a floating window manager, just to open it up correctly. And hopefully it'll start up KDE, so let's find out what happens. Oh, it's asking us, yes, do we want the certificate? Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to blow this up full screen. Okay, it looks like we got something happening. Okay. Okay, so this is running now from the Chromebook. We're doing it remotely here. I'm gonna fix a couple things here that are annoying. I'm gonna change the color scheme to dark, and I'm gonna increase the instead of you can scale the resolution, and it basically makes it look like a lower resolution. It makes everything bigger for it's easier to read because I'm using a quite small screen. But I don't like to do that. I like all the elements to be smaller, but I like the text to be big enough to read. So I'm going to just change the font size instead of scaling the resolution. So I'm going to go into here, and you don't have to do this. This is just if you need bigger or smaller fonts or whatever, you can do that. For me, I'm using a 14-inch screen at 1080p. Things get a little bit small, and my eyes are not amazing, so. I'm going to put this one at 12, the smaller one here. And I'm just putting these at 14. If you scale the resolution, everything becomes huge, and it's really not what I like. I don't want everything to be acting like it's 720p. I just want the text to be bigger. Okay, so I'm just going to apply that. And I think redraws the screen a bit slow sometimes when it's, yeah. But it's not, you're not doing this for amazing. You're not going to be gaming on this. This is all software rendered and everything else. So this is just if you need to do something remotely, and this is a way that I can show what's going on. So I'm going to open up a terminal, and I'm going to install a couple packages that they might not be specific, but I kind of install all the time. So we're going to sudo pacman -s, and we'll say Firefox, and we'll say comp size for the Btrfs, and pacman contrib for extra pacman tools, and mesa demos, lib va utils. That's for VAPI. I always forget what it's called for acceleration, video acceleration, things like that. Just tools to see how it works, but we're not going to actually get that on this system. If I log in locally, we will be, but not through Xrdp. We're basically software rendering everything. Even if I were to use a system with an AMD graphics card and I used Xrdp Glamour, I think it still is not going to be performant. So I think this is everything right here. And we should have Firefox popping up right here. Okay. So in Firefox, we're going to change. I'm going to disable the, again, it doesn't matter for Xrdp, but if you're on a local system, you're going to want video acceleration when you're watching YouTube or other things like that. And Google likes to push all their videos as AV1, and AV1 cannot be rendered with hardware acceleration unless you have a very new graphics card. Only the very newest ones have that, and they're pushing all their videos like that. So you're getting software rendering whenever you're watching an AV1 video. So I'm just going to disable that. And actually on the old Chromebook, I would install an extension to only allow it to use X264. So it doesn't even use VP9 or VP8. But AV1 is just crazy because they push it on every video and nobody has support for that. So they're making the whole world software render all their videos using a lot more energy and also making the videos look terrible. So disable that. And the next thing we're going to do is, unless you have a brand new card that can do that, is I'd like to run the DNS through AdGuard's DNS so we don't have like trackers and ads and all that stuff. I also like the DNS to run as DNS over HTTPS, so it is secure and it's not can't be snooped by your government or whatever. At least the DNS part, it's not some kind of secure all, but it just helps the DNS part of it. So I'm going to run AdGuard's DNS with DNS over HTTPS. So that's going to be network TRR. I'm going to go down to here. I'm going to change this. And I'm not going to put AdGuard in here because that would actually need to be resolved with DNS. What I'm going to do is going to put the actual number to the IP address here. So it doesn't need to be resolved. So this is like bootstrapping it, where if you're using a resolver, but that resolver needs to be resolved, that means at first your target would be the first resolver. So I'm just going to put the IP address. AdGuard's DNS is 94.140.14.14 or .15.15. Unless you don't want to use it, then don't worry about this step. Now doing this, it doesn't have to be used. Down here, if we go to the mode and we switch it to 3, this has to be used now. This says it's going through here or it's not happening at all now. Okay? So if you get kicked offline or something, you might want to, let's Google this. And I'm going to deal with this in a second here. If you're in Europe, this is such a problem. Let's say test. So it says DNS over HTTPS. So that is working for us. Okay. So now that that's set up, let's get some extensions that Google is trying to kill. I think Google's removing it right now in their Chrome browser and trying to get the whole world to do this too with their Manifest version 3. So, but we're on Firefox, so hopefully we don't have that problem for a while. So Google's trying to stop uBlock from being used. And you don't want to listen to Linus from Linus Tech Tips trying to sell you a screwdriver for $70. or whoever else on video is doing this nonsense, you can put on sponsor block. You can actually do this on the on your phone, on your Android phone too. If you're using Firefox nightly, you have to look it up, but you can use these same extensions. And also, I still don't care about. Okay, I still don't care about cookies. Don't use I don't care about cookies. That one's been corporate owned now. Okay, so now we won't have the annoying pop-ups, and they'll be disregarded every time they come up, and we won't have the annoying trackers and spam and everything else. So we can actually have a usable internet. Now, if we go to GitHub, this where the instructions were here. I actually have a color scheme for Breeze, the Capuchin color scheme that I created for Breeze. It's not a theme. It's just a color scheme. There is if you go to Capuchin, you can get themes, but they're a bit wonky. I just want to use the Breeze default one, so I know it works. So if we just cd to the home and then git clone this. Oh, it added some extra tokens here. Okay, so if we cd Archlinux, in here we have the folders to the different tutorials that are the instruction sets that I did, but we also have this color schemes. If we just copy this folder to local share in your home directory, so I'm going to cp -r, and it's going to be to ~/.local. This is your hidden local folder. Share. I'm just going to copy that folder. Sorry, I should have put that folder name first. Color schemes. There we go. So we're copying color schemes into that folder. Now that it's there, we can open up this. So what you're going to want to do, since this is not a theme, it's just a color scheme. If you want to use the light color scheme, put it on the light theme first and then choose the color scheme. I'm going to do the dark one, so I already have the dark theme selected for Breeze. And I'm going to go to color schemes. And again, I have the dark theme already chosen. And I have 4 color schemes here. So again, if you're using the light one, switch to the light theme first, or it'll sometimes look a bit wonky. But there's a dark one, a darker one, and a very dark one. So I like the very dark one. I'm going to use that. That's going to change the gray to this more bluish pastel colors. And you'll see that some of these don't change. This one did change. Some of them will change when you close the program and reopen, and some will change on reboot. Let's see, this one. That's just if you want to use the Capuchin. This is the actual official Capuchin colors, but I'm the one that chose the colors to set up, but I use the colors from their GitHub thing. Okay, so let's see what we have missed so far. So bare metal archinstall. Notice I'm not sure why the sound is missing. That shouldn't be. Maybe we have to reboot it for that. I can't remember what's happening there. But we do have the maybe we need a reboot for it. I'm not quite sure. Okay, let's just see where we're at. I think we've done pretty much everything here. But let's just make sure I haven't missed anything. So there was Firefox. There is the okay. So when you are using SDDM, I'm assuming that you will be using SDDM. Sometimes your cursor in SDDM will actually be using the AddWit cursor instead of the Breeze cursor. I find this annoying, so this is the fix right here to change the user share icon default index theme. So I'm just going to use the sed command to switch the 1 to the breeze cursor, the one that's set there. So this will change when you're in SDDM if you use it again, or when you're in other things that have the messed up cursor. That's going to fix that. And also, if you want, again, it sets the when you first go to SDDM, it uses the it sets the American keyboard, but when you start typing, it switches. If you find that annoying and you just wanted to say the one that you're in, you can get a list of the X11 key layouts. These are different. These are not the key layouts. These are the X11 key layouts. So for me, it's not UK, it's GB now. So this is them, and for me, it's down a little bit. There's GB. I can press Q to quit, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this to the user share SDDM script X setup. Okay, so this is a funny sudo command with a bash because I need to wrap the whole thing since I'm using a you can't use echo directly from sudo, so I need to do sudo bash -c wrap. Anyway, this GB right here is my actual X11 key code for Great Britain. You can change this for yours, or you can just skip this step if you don't want it, but I'm putting that there. I won't be able to show it because I won't be running SDDM through Xrdp, but that fixes that. And there's the Capuchin stuff. And also, if you break your system and you can use your install media to boot up, but you want to try to recover the system that you broke. Maybe the kernel didn't get updated correctly or something happened. So you need to kind of log into that system. Well, you can use your install media on your USB drive to boot up your system, and then you can mount the existing system, okay? But the problem is you're using Btrfs and it's got quite complicated mounting setup. So this is it. This is the mounting. This is everything you need right here. But the SDA2 part, you need to put for the SDA2, this needs to be your root partition. And the very bottom line here for the boot partition for me is SDA1. You're going to need to replace those, all of these in every line, the SDA2, 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 and then all the way down to SDA1. You're going to need to replace them with your device so that this will allow you to quickly be able to chroot into your broken system and help repair it. Have I missed anything else? Okay, I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm not going to actually put the commands in, but I'm just going to show you what they are. Let's say that you were following everything I did and now you don't have Network Manager running, So how can you get back to Network Manager from where you're at? So you need to disable 3 things and you need to enable 1 thing, okay? So you're going to do a sudo systemctl and you're going to say disable, and it's going to be IWD. That's your wireless, the thing that's getting you wireless online. You also need to disable, you don't have to, these other 2 are optional, but if you want to get the way that if you would have just installed Network Manager from the start, this is how you would get there. So systemd, network D, you want to disable that. And then also systemd resolved, you want to disable that. So those are disabled now. And you want to enable SDDM. Okay, now you notice I didn't start or stop any of these. So what I'm doing is this is going to be for the next reboot. But you need to delete 1 file, and it's this file. When you disable systemd resolved, you need to actually delete this symlink. I don't know if this is correct. Oh, it's hold on. Let me just use a wildcard. Oh, there it is. So this looks like a file, but it's actually a symlink. So if I do a -L, oh, it's not minus. I'm so used to using fish now. I can't. Want like everything shown. A should have done it. I wanted it to show that it's a symlink. I actually don't, on my day-to-day, I don't use ls. I use a different command. So it displays differently for me. Anyway, this, just trust me that this is a symlink that we could create. I showed you how to create manually in the thing, but you're going to just need to sudo rm. You're going to need to remove that. And then when you've done that, so you've disabled the three things, you've enabled network manager, sudo, I don't know if I showed network manager, I might have said SDDM. It was network manager we needed. System, CTL, enable, and it's network with a capital N, manager. You need to enable this. When you've done that, you can reboot your system, and it's no longer going to be logging in on boot up. Now it's going to log in after you've logged into your thing. Now it's going to be down here. It's going to show up down here, and that's what's going to be there. And if you want to re-enable SDDM, it's easy. It's just system, CTL, enable SDDM with a sudo here. And you don't need to delete anything, the xinitrc. You don't need to get rid of that. It's fine. You can just leave that there. And this will go back to using the SDDM login manager, although this will not work with Xrdp. So if you're not using Xrdp anymore, you might as well disable it. Xrdp, like that. And you should also disable SSHD if you're not using it, because that's another doorway into your computer. I think that's about it. Yeah. Okay, so basically that was a very long-winded way of installing and configuring Archlinux with KDE Plasma and Firefox and things like that. But it also shows you how to use Xrdp with Xrdp to remotely log in and SSH and all that stuff. So that was great. And we kind of took the shortcut, skipping out Network Manager and just copying over the configuration was already there to keep our IP address. The other way to do it, like I said, if you were to have Network Manager turned on, you would need to go to your device and you need to give a command like this. You need to be already logged in, probably the command line, not online, probably with SDDM turned off or something. But you need Network Manager CLI, and it would be it's in here. Now I can't remember it. There's like device con. In the second option, right down here. You would need Network Manager. You wouldn't need sudo if you're doing this from the install media. Network nmcli device, and the Wi-Fi is not the name of your Wi-Fi device. It's just Wi-Fi. So all of this is just exactly the way it's written. The only thing that you need to change is the SSID. You need to fill it in inside it, and you need to put ask here. If you don't put ask, the way they do it is by putting password and then your password, and you should not put your password in a command line, because if I do that, if I say, this echo this is my password, well, that's cool. But now if I go history, it's right here. That's unsafe. You should never do that. So the minus ask allows it to ask you for the password instead of putting it in at your command line like that. I think that's everything. So yeah, again, I hope that was entertaining or you learned anything from it, or maybe I did researching all this stuff. I'm going to do some videos maybe in a couple days on installing Archlinux completely from completely manually, but having a system that is the exact same system that you would get as if you were using the archinstall. So I'm not going to cut any corners. It's going to be the full system, but every step manually, not using the archinstall script. The other thing that I didn't mention is if you want a really nice KDE, is I didn't install this package because there's no need for what I'm doing here to show, but it's really good if you'd use KDE applications, the meta package. This is going to install a whole bunch of other programs, utilities, tools, games, everything else to give you a very full feature-rich KDE desktop. What you get from the install script, the archinstall, is just a very basic bare bones KDE. If you want everything, this is going to be another 2 gigs worth of stuff. I skipped this step here, but I did post it down saying, it's good to add this if you are using KDE. It's a good, nice thing to fill it out a bit, have everything there. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I think that's going to be it for this one. Have a nice day.